Dear customer, welcome to Van Hool. In the first place, on behalf of the entire Van Hool organization, we want to thank you for putting your trust in us by buying this brand new Van Hool EX touring car. By means of this video, we'd like to help you get started on your new vehicle by showing you around the various components and equipment. However, we won't be able to explain everything. In this video, we will only deal with the most important parts. For further and more detailed information, please refer to the very comprehensive manual delivered with this vehicle, which can also be viewed in digital format on the Van Hool customer portal, which has been developed specially for you. You can access the customer portal via the website www.vanhool.com. Every new vehicle has model-specific information associated with it, so please log into the customer portal with the specific model information. As soon as your application has been validated, you will be able to find all technical information, maintenance schedules and other interesting information about your vehicle on this portal. When you take delivery of a Van Hool vehicle, you will start by being given a grey bag containing various items that are important for the further use of the vehicle. For example, in addition to the detailed vehicle manual, you will also find the manuals for the various devices and onboard equipment. You will also find the electrical diagram for the vehicle, keys and spare keys, various remote controls, and a key to open and lock luggage holds and storage compartments. Now that we have dealt with administrative delivery, we can move on to the vehicle. The vehicle we are delivering today is a Van Hool EX15H. It is therefore possible that we will show you equipment and parts in this video that you will find in a different place on your vehicle or which might be a slightly different version. We'll begin at the front right of the vehicle with the vehicle identification number, also known as a chassis number. The vehicle's unique identification number. This number is right underneath the vehicle on the vehicle's structure, just behind the front right wheel. Next, we have the vehicle identification plate. This plate is located in the front step of the vehicle and along with the identification number also gives the details of the manufacturer, the different vehicle masses and the year of manufacture. Near this plate we also find the tachograph calibration sticker and the sticker with the setting for the speed limiter. Both are compulsory and must be clearly affixed. If we move around to the front of the vehicle, behind the front panel, we find the spare wheel. To open this front panel, all you need to do is use a small lever found behind the side hatch, front left. Once we've clicked open the front panel, we release it, remove the two rings and remove the panel very easily. Once we've disconnected the ring, we pull the spare wheel forward and we can then lift it out of its tray. To stow the wheel with a flat tire, go through the procedure in reverse. Behind the front panel, we also find the fixing for the towing eye. All you need to do is screw the towing eye into the space provided, so that we then can move the immobilized vehicle. After all this, the front panel can simply be fastened and locked in the reverse order from the one we have just shown. On this vehicle, behind the first hatch, front left, we find the first fuse box. On the door of each fuse box, there is also a clear legend with a description of each fuse. Next to the fuse box are the batteries. It is important to know that each of the batteries is paired with a mechanical battery switch. The switch allows us to completely cut off contact between batteries and vehicle. That way we can avoid the batteries being discharged unnecessarily during a prolonged stop. Near the battery switch there's a NATO plug. By using this plug we can safely recharge the batteries if required. Lastly, there's a push button called the ELC button, which is used during vehicle maintenance to keep the pneumatic suspension at a fixed height. This provides safety for anybody working underneath the vehicle. At the top of the first luggage compartment, there's the main fuse box, again with a detailed description of each fuse. In this compartment we also find the standard issue toolkit, which contains several important parts such as a jack, the towing eye, various tools, a high visibility vest, etc. The extension piece for the wheel wrench is attached to the structure in the luggage hold, while the wooden shocks are essential equipment when fitting the spare wheel. If we walk a bit further, we come to the second luggage hatch on the left. This compartment also contains the taps for emptying the grey water tanks. At the top we find the connections for refilling the tanks with fresh water. Refilling is very simple, using the well-known Gardena fittings. For instructions on dealing with the tanks for the toilet, for example, please refer to the detailed vehicle manual. If the vehicle is equipped with a sleeping cabin, this has an access hatch both inside and outside. In any case, the inside of the outside hatch has an emergency release, clearly marked with an illuminated pictogram, so that even in the dark one can easily find one's way out. The last hatch, rear left, gives access to a technical room. This must not be used for storage. You will notice that due to the presence of the exhaust system and its particle filter, this room gets very hot, and leaving any items in here is strictly prohibited. The same room provides access to the engine's air filter, and here, on this vehicle, the parking heater. Thanks to the compact form of the exhaust system and this compartment's large opening, the engine can easily be accessed for maintenance work. On the left of this room you can see the sprinkler heads for the kiddie fire suppression system, but more about that later. Now we come to the engine compartment. First of all, we find the oil dipstick for daily oil level checks, and if the oil needs topping up, the oil fill cap. We can also tell you that the oil level can be checked digitally via an indicator on the dashboard, but more about that in a moment. As with the oil, the coolant level also needs to be checked regularly. You just need to look at the glass small tube top left near the expansion tank, and you will be able to assess the situation at a glance. If you need to add oil or coolant, please follow the instructions of the manufacturer, Van Hool, carefully. You will find these instructions in the vehicle manual or on the coach itself, like here for the coolant. To ensure the safety of the maintenance mechanics, the hatch for the engine compartment is fitted with a safety sensor. If this is opened, it is impossible to start the vehicle from the driver's seat. However, the engine can be started or stopped manually from the engine room, using both push buttons housed to the right. The mechanic therefore personally decides when the engine is started or stopped. The regeneration of the particle filter can be launched or interrupted by using the yellow or red push buttons. Use the red push button to start the regeneration and use the yellow one to interrupt the operation. Be careful where and when you do this, because the exhaust temperature can get very high during the regeneration of this filter. For this operation, we refer to the vehicle's general and maintenance manuals. Lastly, we are showing you the 24-volt connection you can use to connect a portable lamp to illuminate the engine compartment in the dark. Also in this room we find several sprinkler heads for the automatic kiddie fire suppression system, but more about that in a moment. This type of vehicle is equipped with lateral cooling, where the cooling fan is driven hydraulically. So rear right, behind the hatch with the cooling fins, is where we find all the radiators and the intercooler. Because large quantities of cooling air are sucked in, it is recommended that you clean these radiators and cooling fins regularly, in order to maintain optimum cooling of the whole engine and gearbox. On other Van Hool vehicles, this is where we find the parking heater and an extra access hatch to the engine compartment. Immediately next to this hatch we have a compact storage space for small items and a fuse box as well. Depending on the type of vehicle, you can fill up with diesel on one or both sides. There's a quick fill system available for this, so there's no need to open or close a fuel cap. Immediately next to the mouth of the fuel tank is a sticker on which all the diesel fuel types approved by Van Hool are marked. As with the fuel filling, the AdBlue tank can be accessed on one or both sides of the vehicle. We are almost at the end of our tour around the outside of the vehicle and we're about to head inside. Both doors can only be operated from the driver's seat or from outside using push buttons on the door at the front. The top button operates the front door. The bottom button operates the rear door. To the left or right of each door we find the emergency release. Climbing aboard the vehicle, we immediately come to the seat for the driver's assistant or guide. To guarantee an easy and safe passage for the passengers and crew, this seat is always folded away. To sit down, just operate the lever near the seat and push the seat down. The driver's assistant has easy access to a large fridge if one has been installed, located near the windscreen. To do his or her job and be able to speak to the passengers, the driver's assistant has two connections for a microphone. One front left and a second upper right near the first row of seats. The second connection is handy for countries where the driver's assistant has to sit in this seat. And of course, the seat for the driver's assistant is fitted with a seatbelt. A specially designed driver's seat is always provided for the driver's use. Features of this seat are its countless adjustment options, its integrated seatbelt, and also its integrated microphone, which allows the driver to conduct telephone conversations safely, hands-free, through a Bluetooth link with his mobile phone. The driver can also communicate various service announcements to the passengers via this microphone. The steering column can be adjusted and has an electric unlock for this purpose. The driver presses the appropriate button briefly, which gives him or her about 4 seconds to adjust the steering wheel to their requirements. After 4 seconds, the steering column is automatically locked in position. And because safety is always paramount, this action can only be performed with the handbrake on. Setting up the driver's position is very intuitive. On the right, the driver has the gearbox operation, and on the left, the pneumatic handbrake. Also on the left, just below the handbrake, immediately within reach, is a multifunctional button. This button gives the driver not only access to most of the settings and adjustment options, but also all kinds of information about their vehicle. For example, you can adjust the air conditioning for the driver's seat and cabin, find the right setting for the interior lighting, adjust the exterior mirrors, check whether doors and hatches are properly closed, check pressures and fluid levels, consult information regarding the maintenance of the vehicle, and so on. All the information is clearly shown on a display in the center of the dashboard. For how to use this multifunctional button, we refer to the detailed manual, which gives you a clear overview using pictograms. All other functions can be operated using the buttons to the left and right of the dial. For example, the sunshades for the windscreen can be operated electrically without the driver having to take his eyes off the road. If they suddenly need to lower or raise the height of the vehicle's bodywork, they can do that with two buttons that are within immediate reach. Incidentally, the front and rear axles can be operated separately in this case. We should also add that all vehicles are equipped with safety items such as AEBS, automatic braking system, LDWS, which notifies the driver if they drift out of their lane unintentionally, and cruise control with distance setting, and so on. If the vehicle is fitted with the so-called alcolock, the drivers must take a breath test first to check whether they have recently consumed alcohol. Only if the test gives a negative result, the vehicle can be started. Finally, to the left of the driver, we also find two important buttons or switches. The first is the emergency switch, which a driver can use to interrupt all power in an emergency. The second gives the driver the option to activate the kitted fire suppression system, which immediately activates a fire extinguisher system in the engine room. Incidentally, this action is fully automatic thanks to the ingenious detection system around the engine compartment. The console in the middle of the dashboard houses the multimedia and its connectivity options, and the tachograph. Before being able to start the vehicle, the driver must turn on the onboard voltage using the battery switch. Then he or she must put the key switch at position 1 and wait until all systems have started up. Next, they can start the vehicle. The vehicle can and may only move off once the vehicle and the suspension are at full pressure. Clear messages on the dashboard provide the driver with assistance at this stage. It's clear that an experienced and professional driver will only start driving once he has checked all the settings: navigation, climate settings, mirrors, lights, inside and outside, radio and/or multimedia, and so on. And then we can set off, provided all the doors are closed. For the safety of all passengers, ELS emergency lighting is provided, so there will always be light in the cabin in case of emergency. There's a fire extinguisher, there are first aid boxes, and the vehicle has emergency exits, which can be opened in case of emergency using emergency hammers or through the escape hatches in the ceiling. In case of emergency, doors can be opened via the emergency valve inside each door. And of course, all seats are fitted with retractable seat belts. So dear customer, we have reached the end of this instructional video. Once again, we want to refer you to the more detailed user manuals which can be found inside the vehicle and on the customer portal, which can be accessed through the Van Hool website. And don't forget, the entire Van Hool team is here for you and happy to help. We'd like to thank you for your attention, and we trust you'll have many successful and safe journeys on board this Van Hool touring car. Good luck and see you again.